How's it going, guys? Welcome to Spark of Hope. Woo! Man, it's over, the Clone Wars, Season 7. And we just want to talk to you guys about our thoughts, spoiler talk, so, we can get into some of the more nitty-gritty stuff that really stood out to us, and just kind of an overall review of what we thought of the season and of the specific 3 arcs that there are in the 12-episode season.
The Bad Batch arc.
Yeah, the first arc.
Which, what do you think about it? I guess I want to hear your take before I kind of go over mine.
The first arc is probably the least memorable for me, honestly, and I think it's just because with the clones, I probably just didn't get connected with them as much throughout the show up until the last arc with Ahsoka, and I think it's only really the clones that were associated with Ahsoka that I really got close with. I thought it was kind of cool that they did represent that not all clones are the same, and they did really focus on more of the humanizing of them, which I liked a lot. But that's just my honest take. It was the least memorable out of the 3 arcs. I really feel like the first arc was the least memorable. The second arc was like, okay, just because it led up to what was going on in the third arc, which the third arc was definitely the most intense and memorable, and I think that just added the most to
Oh, for sure.
the connections and stuff that happen.
And we'll get more into that for the final arc because there's a lot that happened. But, for me, the first arc, I thought it just was a good remembrance of, what the Clone Wars was and, what it, I guess, is. But, a lot of the first few seasons are really centered on the clones. And it was just a good memory, going down memory lane, I guess, with it. Because I was, the whole reason of the show is to make sure that you remember that, these are, real people. And, they can't just be replaced. And each person has their own. And, they do their own thing. So, when they found Echo, I was like, oh, shoot. I actually had to take a second and look, and I was like, oh, yeah, forgot about him. And then I was like, oh, yeah, he actually contributed in this way because each one does their own thing. And so it was neat just to kind of get a refresher, and I thought it was a good way to start the season up. I think it was, so where it was placed probably helped it the most for me.
And I think also it was a good reminder as to what the show originally was made for, and it was to really show what was happening in the Clone Wars and to humanize the clones instead of just seeing them as clones or stormtroopers or however that you saw them in the original movies. So it definitely brought it back to being hey, this is really what this show is about, and it's to connect with these people and to really just show the friendships that they did make. And I think it also helped get to know them a little bit more and just to focus on just the clones instead of making it about Ahsoka or about Obi-Wan or about Anakin or Padme, and making you know more about their story. It's more to know about the clone story and how they are connected, which I guess makes a lot of the other stuff that is about the clones in the movies and in the last arc a lot more emotional because you connect with them a lot more, which that was a good portion of the first arc. I just guess me personally, I just didn't care as much because I wasn't as connected with the clones at that point. I was more connected with the Jedi, which I feel like a lot of people are, unfortunately. And it's because that's what all Star Wars is really about, is the Jedi and the Sith and the Empire. And
don't forget about my Han Solo.
Oh, well, yes, that particular group, the OG group. But
yeah, that's true.
Yes. But I do feel like it did get me more interested in knowing more about the clones and to really, I guess, want to know more by the last arc as to why what happened.
Yeah, and I think the best, I guess a little spoiler talk with that little arc was just the whole encounter with Padme and Anakin. I really appreciated, them, doing their little, FaceTime over the galaxy. And, how some reason he didn't really notice she was pregnant. That's all right. But I guess the best part was just Obi-Wan knew, and you're just wow, there's a lot of stuff that Obi-Wan held back because you're not allowed to have any relationships being in the Jedi Council or just being at a Jedi in general, which Anakin was. And it was just interesting to kind of see how he used it to kind of give a little bit of a power play move, but at the same time, he didn't take it to like the supreme, like the group of Jedi, like the masters that could technically like have him be exiled.
Yes, and I think another big reason as to why he did that though is because he was in the same situation when he was Anakin's age with
Duchess Satine.
Yes,
yeah,
Duchess Satine.
But he held back his emotions when Anakin.
But
did.
What I'm saying is, I think he felt for Anakin because. It is Anakin's choice.
That's true.
And pretty much Anakin made the choice that Obi-Wan felt like he couldn't make. Mm-hmm. And so I think he felt for him in a way because Obi-Wan just kind of saw some stuff of himself in Anakin. And so I think that he was like, well, he's my brother. I can't just, I think he just kind of played dumb for Anakin, essentially, because he understood what Anakin was going through and that Anakin just has a tendency to give in. And that Anakin didn't really ask for the Jedi life. It was kind of like just put on to him. And like the Anakin...
Oh, he wanted it.
I think when he was a child, he really didn't know what he wanted. And
he wanted to be free.
He wanted to be free, but I also think there were just decisions made for him in a sense because he was seen as like the chosen one and the one that was going to change everything.
True.
And so like Obi-Wan's master was like, oh, we're going to take this kid away. And like, you could tell Anakin didn't really want to leave his mom, but he had no choice because...
Better than being a slave.
It's better than being a slave for one. His mom wasn't going to let him stay. And then on top of that, it wasn't like Obi-Wan or his master could release his mom too. Because...
If they did, man, we probably wouldn't have Darth Vader.
Yeah, for real. There'd be so much that would be different about the story. And so I think like Obi-Wan just kind of remembered what it was like for Anakin as a child, not really being able to make many decisions. Like he was excited about the new path that he was going on, but there was so much that he had to give up. And so I think Obi-Wan kind of was like, I'm going to let him make this decision. And if he has to reap consequences, he has to reap consequences, but I'm not going to be the person to put that onto him. And I think I respect that a lot out of Obi-Wan doing that. Like, even though he knew, he was like, I'm gonna play dumb. Mm-hmm. And I think it just really shows how close him and Anakin were, which is really cool because like, you don't get to really see their relationship grow in the prequels because there's so much time skipped. It's just
the featured films,
yeah.
You see the beginning of the war and then you see the end result.
Yeah, and you see that like, in the beginning they just met and then at the end they become really good friends. And like in the middle when Anakin was kind of like this angsty teenager, that he just was very much like, yes, master, of course, master, you're right, master, and just resented him in a way because he felt like he had no choices and he felt like he wasn't being heard. And so you just didn't really get to see that dynamic change as to how they went from master student to like brother best friend.
True. And that's what the Clone Wars does the best.
Yes.
The second arc I thought was probably the lamest arc.
Oh.
I mean, I loved seeing what Ahsoka was doing. Like, it was nice. But, like, it just felt like a wannabe solo film for me. Because, I mean, they go, like, they are working with the Pikes, I believe. And, like, they're, like, smuggling. And I'm, like, literally, they do a lot of the same things that Han Solo does in his film. But Han Solo's film is, like, more interesting. Like, they even go to the same planet.
Whatever.
And like, I don't know, I just was like, okay, we get it. And then one of the episodes, man, I just thought it was so pointless because literally they're in jail and like they break out and then at the end of the episode they're back in jail. Like, I was like, what? Literally nothing progressed. So for me, I was just like, okay, I mean, it's cool to see more Ahsoka time, but she probably could have done something else. I don't know. Or they could have condensed that part to like 2 episodes and then progressed more of her and the other 2. I don't know.
But I think that there's a little more deeper stuff to it. And maybe this is just like the movie/TV show critiquer coming out of me over exaggerating everything and like symbolism and stuff. But I think the big reason as to why they had that episode was to show that Ahsoka struggling to being a normal citizen versus a Jedi and really needing to try like decide which which side she was gonna choose, as if like she couldn't combine the two. And that she was really not relying on her Jedi side in that episode. She was just like, oh, I'm gonna do things my way, and like, or she would flip back and forth, and she would just do things the Jedi way or just do things the citizen way without all of her Jedi powers. And I think it just had a lot to do with that she had to make a choice, and that pretty much ultimately choosing one or the other just made her end up back in the same situation she was already in.
But it was just so drawn out.
I know. Okay, I know. I agree. I didn't love that arc, but I think I tried to look at it in a deeper sense, because I'm like, why are they showing this? Like, why do we care? And I'm like, okay, one, we're trying to see what Ahsoka did after she left the Order. So that's pretty clear on that. Two, I think it was really trying to represent what the lower section of, I'm trying to think of the name at the moment.
Coruscant?
Yes. I wanted to say a different C name, and I knew it was wrong. But to really see with the lower levels, like, and how they feel about the war, and like their envisionment on the Jedi, and just really showing kind of like why there are some planets that don't allow the Republic to get involved because they have the Jedi Order, or like, I think it also was trying to point back to like the olden times where there was like the Mandalorians who didn't really want, you know, the Jedi anywhere near them, because it was a different time, and the Jedi were not always looked at as this great, amazing thing to everyone. And I think a lot of the movies, they highlight how great the Jedi are, but they never show the faults. Like some of the prequels kind of like pointed to it, like, hey, you know, the Jedi don't always accomplish everything they need to accomplish. Kind of like when Order 66 happened, and like Yoda was like, we have to go to these dark lengths to like, you know, save people, and not everyone's going to understand. Or like in the fourth arc with Mandalore, and how the people were not cool with the Republic being there, and they like didn't understand that the Republic was trying to help because they had a Sith running their planet. And they're just like, you know, the Jedi shouldn't be here and all this stuff, because they don't always see behind the scenes what the deeper thing is going on as to why they're doing what they're doing. And so I think the second arc really had to do with getting to know more of like what the citizens thought of the Jedi.
And they did that. It just took a while. The best part I thought of the whole second arc was when they're like in the laundromat. On one of the posters, it says Calrissian soap. So my thought is Lando's family must have been in the soap trade.
Oh my gosh.
But we'll never know unless, you know, some comic book or book comes out. And I'll definitely read all about Lando growing up making soap. So.
Oh my gosh.
We've talked about it. You guys have probably seen it by now. The third arc, it could have just been a movie. Like, they could have just done like a Clone Wars film like they did when they first started it, and ended it on a film.
Personally, I like it better as a TV show. I really do.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah, but it's just so good. Like, it literally could have just been like, here's 4 episodes from Disney. And we would have been so ecstatic.
We would have been happy. I understand that, but I think I liked the anticipation, because when we watched it the second time around, I didn't like that I didn't have that anticipation of like, well, what's going to happen?
I liked it.
I didn't love it. I like kind of missed it. And I think it's just because I like watching TV shows more than you.
Yeah, I usually do movies.
Yeah. So I think I understand the anticipation type of like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? And like kind of waiting to see if like your theories are right, or if like, you know, it goes into a completely different direction that you just didn't expect it to. And so I think I missed that. So if it was a movie, yes, it would be cool, but I think it would miss out on those factors of like people waiting. And then like getting an episode early, like getting that surprise.
That was pretty cool.
That was cool too. So I think...
I didn't want to wait after they saved Rex, and we're just like waiting in the med bay room, and we're just like, he just got saved, now we have to wait till Friday? What?
Yeah.
But... yeah, I mean, there's so much to talk about for 7. Like,
the last arc was the best.
Yes, just so much closures with having the prequels kind of actually have more meaning. Like, I definitely thought they did a great tie-in with the original trilogy. Just the 4 episodes in general, I really think helped make the prequels more like personal and actually like have a purpose. Like, I understand it had a purpose, but like, it definitely expresses...
It describes more.
It describes more.
It gives more details.
It gives reasons as to why, like, Order 66 had such a big, like, impact. Like, I mean, we've seen it. We've seen it in Jedi Fallen Order, the game. It shows the different side of Order 66 we see in Revenge of the Sith, but just like, I don't know, it really touched me a lot more when I saw it with Ahsoka, because like she looked at the clones as like her friends
and her family, and
Yeah.
there was just so much raw emotion,
Yeah.
raw Star Wars emotion that made it really connect.
Yeah.
Like, I thought I was gonna cry when I saw Rex and he switched and he knew it was gonna happen, and just this tear rolls down his cheek as he tells Ahsoka, "You need to find him," and trying to resist the urge
Yeah.
to like kill her. And it's just like,
It's a lot different than like seeing Ki-Adi-Mundi get wrecked, or Plo Koon, or like
Yeah.
just like even Obi-Wan. Like, yeah, we kind of knew he had some connections with Commander Cody, but like at the same time, I don't know, it just like he looked at them as
Yeah.
like his soldiers, not like his brothers as
Yes.
much. Like he's like, they're here to help me with the war.
yeah. And
I got shot and now I have to swim, kind
Yeah.
of thing.
And I think it really ties the bow
Yeah.
on top of the whole point of the Clone Wars show.
Yeah.
And it's to humanize the clones. And I really liked that. And that's where I got more connected, where I'm like, wow, this show just meant so much more
Mm-hmm.
with introducing the clones than it did when it first started.
Yeah.
And I think it was just those building blocks, and it all just kind of came together. And it just was an emotional arc. It was sitting on the edge of your seat arc. And
Yes.
it was so much more, there was just so much more connections. You understood like why there was so much going on in like the third movie.
Mhm.
Or the third prequel, I guess I should say. And it just also tied in Anakin's story a lot more as to like where that goodness was still inside him when he became Darth Vader, because like again, a lot of movie critics and whatnot on YouTube have talked about the symbolism of when he finds Ahsoka's lightsaber on the moon planet and sees the bird that was above in the sky and like who that actually was. And then also I feel like this last arc just also ties in the rest of Anakin's story to show that it wasn't erupt.
Mhm.
What happened and how long that he's really actually been groomed for to become Darth Vader. And like it really also emphasizes on how much Palpatine like just orchestrated this whole thing to get his way.
How much he used people like Maul.
Yeah, or
That's
Ahsoka too,
Yeah.
even. And just so many different characters just being like, oh, you know, you think when you watch the movies like that they're really important, but in all reality, like Darth Maul was saying and making it a really deep, deep understanding of being like, we're just pawns.
Yeah.
Like we're
Maul and
not even
Dooku.
important.
Yeah.
We're not important in any of this. Like the only person who's important in this is Palpatine, aka the Sith Lord, and Anakin, and that's like it. That's it. That's all. That's who is important in this entire story. Everyone else, they're pawns. They're just people to push the story forward. And like also Darth Maul. Like
He just grew so much. It was so weird when like you can finally say that someone that had to die actually got noticed, because like once he died in episode 1, like his ties were completely done. But this show has definitely like shown him like from a different side of things, kind of being more of, I would say, like in between, like a gray Jedi, because like yeah, he definitely uses the Sith side and the dark side to his advantage, but like he isn't following like Sidious. Like he's using more of it for his own motives, but at the same time he just wants like Sidious gone, but like he still hates Obi-Wan for killing him because he wants revenge. But it's just interesting to see like a third party that has the Force and is using it to their own advantage.
even like Ahsoka is also considered technically like a gray Jedi, so
Yeah.
she's like in the middle.
Yeah.
And it's not that she uses Sith, it's just she doesn't agree with everything that the Jedi do because it's all about politics.
Yeah.
And she thinks that the greater good of the people is what should be the focus of the Jedi because that's what they claim.
She is like a great Jedi, but at the same time, she's almost like the purest Jedi because she's
Yes.
using like her skills and talents to help progress the people that she's working with. She's not choosing people that she's gonna like
That
help.
she has treaties with.
Yeah, she's not like gonna just help Palpatine like what they decide to do in the last arc because he needs help and they decide to help him instead of like Mandalore. When in reality they should have just wanted help Mandalore because there's a lot more people there, but because Palpatine is such a higher up and so powerful.
He needs all the Jedi there, but in all reality, they didn't.
Ahsoka
They
looks
didn't.
at each person equal.
Yes.
When Jedi sometimes have hierarchy and they decide to help them instead.
Yes. And
Yeah.
and like Maul said too, like when he was trying to relate to Ahsoka, because you were talking about earlier about how he hated Sidious and how, but he had so much revenge. It was more that he wasn't a Sith because he knew that he's like the Sith. He even admitted in like the episode, he's like, the Sith have never been stronger. They have never been better than the Jedi. It's just we play a purpose in this story, and like the only reason the Sith were made is so then like the Jedi Order could fall. Now seeing more of the stuff that Disney's putting forth, I think that there is definitely more to the Force than people don't. There's more to the Force than people understand at this point.
So if you feel like Disney screwed up Star Wars, I feel bad for you. I mean, we all can have different likes and dislikes.
Yeah.
But this show, I think anybody's going to enjoy it, especially the last 4 episodes. If you're a prequel fan, original fan, even a sequel fan. And it definitely just ties in the loop to a lot of other Star Wars content. And I don't know, I haven't seen anybody that says, like, these are horrible. So
everybody has loved them so far.
Yeah, the recommendation. You should go check them out. Even if you don't have the time to watch all 7 seasons, just check out the last 4. Because it's literally like an extended cut of Revenge of the Sith.
Yes, it's like all the pieces that were missing. Because definitely once the show started, I know as me, even as a kid, after I watched the prequels, I was just like, well, what happened to Ahsoka? Because she's not in the movies.
Yeah, or Maul.
Or Maul. Or like a lot of characters that were in the movies, you're like, well, where were these people? What were they doing? And like, you just didn't know. You didn't know what was happening. And now it has all these connections. And I mean, even in your Jedi game too, Jedi Fallen Order, that they give a piece of the story as to what happened and like how specific Jedi didn't get killed and like what their stories were. And that it wasn't like just Obi-Wan lived.
Obi-Wan and Yoda.
Yeah, they're the only ones who lived. It's not like that. It's like there are other people who lived. It's just technically they're not Jedi.
Yeah, or apprentice.
Yeah, or apprentices or Padawans or Sith. They're force-wielding people.
We don't know. Maybe Disney will give us more. Or they'll just stick with doing their whole new trilogy arc that's coming out in like 2022. But for us, we're definitely going to give you guys Star Wars content each week. There's still news that's going on.
Yeah.
Man, there was so much that happened with May the 4th, with so many game updates, even with like Lego Star Wars coming out. I guess there's like an actual release date, but now there isn't. So we're not going to give you it. Cough, it's kind of October, but don't tell anybody. As well, we're going to keep on giving you guys stuff on Friday, so tune in because we have a lot of Star Wars content. Even if the show's over and the movie's over, there's still stuff that's happening.
Still stuff we'll talk about because we have opinions.
We got
Star
opinions.
Wars, clearly.
Yes, because we love Star Wars.
Yes.
And hopefully you guys do.
Yeah.
So thanks for chilling with us. Should they do anything on their way out?
Yeah, always. You should subscribe to our channel because then you will be able to see more of our Star Wars content all across the board. And it really is actually going to be Star Wars content. Like, we're obsessed. That's why we made a whole Star Wars centered channel.
True.
And it won't only be reviews. It'll probably be a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah, honest takes. We'll get into some of the stuff. There's anniversaries coming up. So like Empire Strikes Back and a couple other ones. So we'll celebrate, talk and chat and hang out with you guys. That's our plan.
And speaking of subscribing, we are finally going to launch our normal, like, couples, not always centered on Star Wars, if you even care, about our lives. We're actually going to launch that at the same time as this video. So by the time you watch this video, hopefully you'll be able to see the next one. So subscribe to that channel too, to just kind of see our everyday lives and something separate from Star Wars, obviously, that we do. And I mean, there's going to be Star Wars included in it because Star Wars is such a huge part of our lives.
Yes.
So subscribe to both of those channels. It's actually a recommended channel on this channel. So if you go to like the little connected channel tabs or associated channels, you'll find it there. So very easy to get back and forth to both of these channels. The other thing is like our videos. So people who also like this content will be able to see this content that we made. Because if you show that you like it as a person who watches this type of content, YouTube's going to be kind of like, oh, well, other people who like this content will also like this video. So they'll recommend it to them. And last but not least, comment down below if you want to tell us anything about the series itself or just about our channel. Like, we don't mind. We would love to talk to you guys, get to know you guys as much as we possibly can.
Anything Star Wars down in the comments below.
Yep. So we'll see you in the next video on the other channel, actually.
Yeah. So, hey, these guys, may the Force be with you. Enjoy your week.